And I guess that reinforces another finding from the research, which was nearly 2/3 of consumers do believe that companies need to take more responsibility for their data, and this seems to be backing up that finding in the latest news in terms of forcing companies to readdress that.
Yes, and in fact this has been a real polarisation of the viewpoint last year compared to this year when we did the survey. So last year we saw that there was a pretty significant number of people who said, well, you know, I as a consumer should take a level of responsibility for protecting my data. This year we're seeing a real polarisation, and so now we're seeing people either say, well, you know, I don't really understand what the issue is, so I don't think anyone needs to take any responsibility. That's at one end of the spectrum. At the other end of the spectrum, if people are saying that someone should take responsibility, they're almost now universally saying, well, actually, I can't solve this problem by myself. And the organisation which needs to take responsibility is the organisation that I'm sharing my data with. And by the way, I think that that's the way that you should view it, because you as a consumer, you know, don't forget that in most cases, this is your data that we're talking about. It's your information. And you are entrusting another organisation with the stewardship of that information. And with that stewardship comes a level of responsibility of behaviour.
So consumers then are obviously do have some power here. What is your advice to consumers then in terms of how they can better protect themselves, protect their privacy, and also hopefully avoid identity theft? I mean, what are the questions they should be asking?
So I think that there are a number of possible answers to that, and you know, for a start, there's a lot of good advice that's already out there about using technology on your home PC, like antivirus and anti-spyware and anti-spam and personal firewalls and things like that, and just good practice about securing your home PC. So certainly by all means follow that advice, but I'll put that aside for a moment because I think that topic is already really well covered off. We already talked about breach disclosure, and what I'd like to see is, whilst I'd never really be someone to call for increased legislation, I really think that it will make a difference in both the short as well as the long term if we see a fair introduction of breach disclosure requirements in this country. And by the way, you know, that would be also good if we see that universally applied across all the member states of the European Union. And that will provide a push from the top down that will drive behaviour in the market around implementing technologies and processes, etc., which improve the security state behind or within the enterprise IT. Because identity theft doesn't just occur at your home desktop. A lot of identity theft occurs because we're seeing these massive data breaches that are occurring within the domain of responsibility of the data custodian who've got these big databases, etc., etc. Now, what you probably find is that a lot of organisations can't explain that to you, but at the moment they're not being asked to explain it. And I think if we can build up this groundswell of consumer power, and then we can match that with a push-down effect of government pressure via legislation or industry regulations, like we've seen in the payment card industry as well, that will lead to an acceleration of change. And I'm confident that change will come. What I'd like to see is an acceleration of that change.
Simon, it's a very interesting area at the minute, and thank you for sharing your views with us.
Thank you very much.